Hello, and thank you for joining us this Monday edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Esther Makwariola. Today on the show, Dangote Refinery opens, eyes crude oil from 3 continents as company gets set to meet daily fuel consumption, creates 100,000 jobs, and later on the show, federal government bows to Nigerian doctors over wage increase and regular payment. As Pantami says, Nigeria requires additional 363,000 doctors to meet WHO target. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Gani Kayode Balogun. Journalist Hangout starts now. Well, let's begin with politics and developments at the 2023 Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal in Abuja. Well, the chairman of the tribunal, Justice Haruna Samani, has dismissed the application for live coverage of its proceedings at the tribunal in Abuja this Monday. Justice Samani said the application by the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party lacked merit. Well, in a unanimous decision, the panel held that the order sought by the petitioners was outside the scope of the petition, adding that televising of proceedings is not provided for in any law. Babajide, when this story first broke out, people were wondering why the PDP and LP's application for this will, take any shape. But first off, what's your take on their request initially? Do you think it would have been of any benefit?
No, I opposed it. And you see, there is this popular saying, be careful what you wish for. I'm sure the people who are asking for the trial to be televised did not look at all of the implications. When people behave based on emotions, common sense sometimes takes a flight. Let me give an example. Because even right now, Abba Kyari, the most decorated policeman in Nigerian history, is on trial. The last time they came to court, the judge granted the prayer seeking that witnesses should give their testimony secretly, meaning that journalists, cameramen were not permitted to witness the testimony of some key witnesses. Why? Because they could step out of court and somebody will shoot them, will take their lives. It's the same, that's the same scenario can happen in the course of this presidential election where emotions are already running wild. Somebody goes to give a very valid, a very key, game-changing testimony, and the next thing is moving on the streets, he gets killed, or even his wife and children could be wiped out. There's a possibility. When, during the NSAS riots, some prisons were flung open by rioters. What happened in Delta State? A man who had been sentenced to death went straight to kill the person who testified against him in his trial. He went, as he got released, he went to his village and killed the man who testified against him. You think these politicians cannot do it? You think some of the emotionally charged people on social media cannot do it? I've seen situations when they were even posting people's phone numbers on social media that Nigerians should harass them, Nigerians should be insulting them. This is one way by which people misuse the social media. Now, if they were to show this thing live, you can see everybody giving key testimony. What is the guarantee that they won't go and be harassing some of the people who have given testimony? And the people who are going to give testimony, there are many. You can see Tinubu is going to bring more than 30 witnesses. Labour Party, I think about 70 or so witnesses. Those witnesses live with us. There is no way somebody will go and give a testimony that damages another person's case, and that witness will not face a problem. He will face real hell. They can go to his house and start burning. There's another example that I'll give, because Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians do not have a sense of history. How did third term fail? Third term failed because Ken Onamani decided that the proceedings should be shown live. By the grace of God, I was among journalists who at a hotel advised Ken Onamani that he should do it. Kaude Komolafe was there, deputy MD of this day. Eniola Bello was there. We were the people who advised Ken Onamani, because he called us and said, see, Obasanjo wants to do third term. What do you advise that I do? It wasn't as if Ken Onamani was opposed to third term, because there's an interview he granted the news magazine in which he was literally campaigning for extension. I know that. I was editor of the magazine, and the interview is still there. But in his heart, he knew this would bring problems, and he called senior editors. He said, gentlemen, tell me, what should we do? We told him, look, and let me add, Senator Seidu Dansadao was also in that meeting. This thing that I'm saying is the truth, but I know that so many Nigerians do not know. And we told him, look, Nigerians don't want this third term. Anyone, he said, but our colleagues want it. We then said, okay, if your colleagues in the Senate want it, let the proceedings be televised live, so that their constituents will know that they were the ones who asked for third term. After the first day, the home of one of the senators was set ablaze. The rest of them changed their story. Those who planned to say we want third term, they changed their minds and started saying, no, third term is not good. They didn't want their houses to be burnt. Mm. So let's apply common sense to what has happened. The stakes are higher now, because many people can kill themselves because of this election petitions tribunal. Many Nigerians can kill themselves because they want power. So you think that somebody will appear, he will make a testimony, he gets attacked, you think others will want to come? It's part of the reasons that the judge gave. In any case, it's not backed by law. And the judge said the fact that the law says that proceedings shall be held in public does not mean that it shall be the court shall be turned into a stadium. Some people play football, and then some of you can even bet on who. We know it is Arsenal, the Shoroye of global football, or it is Manchester United, who have not tasted the Premier League title since 2013. That's not what we are talking about.
So, GKB, let me quickly get your thoughts on this matter. You know, BKO rightly pointed out some security concerns if this were to be followed through. But what other alternative methods or what other alternatives could be explored now to more like make it this election tribunal fair and transparent for a high-profile case like this?
How transparent do you want it to be?
So that the opponents the voting parties can...
You want the judges to come naked to the courtroom to show they are not wearing anything. People who know the history of how the jurisdiction came into being will tell you that this is just another set in the development of justice all over the world. People must understand that there's a whole system in some states called the Witness Protection Program. solely dedicated to protecting witnesses from being exposed. Including the fact that even in some courts, the back or the silhouette of the witness is what they will show,
Yes.
not the face. I've been doing this for hundreds of years. I don't know why now, why this. This is what the Yorubas will call living leprosy to tackle ringworm. There are things more serious about what we are looking for than all this showmanship. Because I don't think anybody with a very serious case would prefer that it must be put on a show. It seems to me that you are presenting a presentation or a production to show people
PowerPoint presentation.
something that people will now see and then will now say, fine. See, we lost not because we know we don't have a case, but we've won in the mind of public opinion. You are not targeting the judges. You are targeting your own for validation. You've created monsters that you know will swallow you if you don't do certain things. And this part of the diversion created basically to ensure that. I think the judges are right. We need to move forward. In fact, I want to warn editors as well. Whatever is said in the tribunal is what you should report. Even if you like, put them in quotes. So you too will be protected. Because a lot of people, last week, somebody went to town claiming that the judgment today was slated for May 29th. And that Nigeria is ended. And then I went scroll down and saw nothing less than 1,000 people raining curses. Until I have to go there, I said, no, it was May 19th, not 29th. And the guy had to apologize. Imagine somebody knowing where the judges live or where the witnesses live, and they told them that they postponed it to 29th. Imagine how many houses would have been burnt, how many lives would have been lost. Simply because somebody was too dense to know the difference between the 19th and the 29th. These are the dangers we face.
That is if it was not even deliberately.
I know it was deliberate. That's why I went there deliberately to correct him. I know you are enjoying yourself, but it was postponed till 19th, not 29th. So we need to get and it's not peculiar to those who are really targeting these people. Even senior lawyers are now saying that why the law did not say that. The law did not also not say it. Whatever that means. The senior lawyer, senior advocate of Nigeria will open his mouth after the law says 10 years to become a CA. Let's say 25 years of practice. That though the law did not say so, we could use this opportunity to enhance the law. Which law? Which law are you enhancing? If you want to enhance the law, remove your robe. People don't wear it anymore. Start wearing Ankara to court. That to me is moving forward. Not showing something on TV. It's ludicrous.
All right, let's move on to the next issue of discussion on the program. Now, we understand most times the more things change, the more they remain the same. Now, the BSc-HND dichotomy in Nigeria has refused to go despite efforts to abolish it. In the midst of a mounting campaign against the Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, that's ASUP, has pleaded with the President Muhammadu Buhari to sign into law the bill to abolish BSc-HND dichotomy before he hands over power on May the 29th. Now, the national president of ASUP, andHND, said the dichotomy has made young Nigerians to lose interest in polytechnic education in the country. Babajide, first let's quickly get your assessment on this. First of all, why do you think this bill for the abolishment of BSc and HND is important? Let's have your thoughts on that first.
Yes, because there's no need for the dichotomy in the first place. There's no need to make the HND holder inferior to the degree holder. I've interacted with people, as a manager of men and resources. I've interacted with BSc holders, HND holders. I've seen some guys with HND that were far, far superior
qualified
in intellect, knowledge, and application of knowledge than those who had BSc or BA honors or whatever. is an unnecessary dichotomy. And to create a situation in our country whereby, because somebody has a BSc, he cannot rise up to level 17 in the civil service, is something unnecessary. It's something unnecessary. I can tell you that even if an open test is conducted, you will find a good number of HND holders trumping the degree holders. Even where we work, I've worked here in this place. I've worked with producers who had HNDs who are far better than those who had BScs. It's unfortunate that we can't mention names. Honestly, yes, this is the truth. We must commit to saying the truth. Some of them, you will not even believe that they had HNDs. But from my experience as a tabloid editor, I had worked with so many like that. There's a particular girl in that I worked with who ended up working in a cement company. She was the star. She was so good that our company even gave her scholarship. They sponsored her HND. She came for internship, and we saw the talent. And my bosses took over her education. They sponsored her. And then when she graduated, she did her youth service with us. She began to work with us. She was just damn so brilliant. People listening to me will know the girl, especially those that we work together. She's now working with a big cement company in our country. And there are many like that. There was a reporter that I lost. That guy too was the star of the newsroom. He had an HND. There are some good schools in our country. And you're talking about mass communication, for example. You talk about the Polytechnic Ibadan. You talk about Moshood Abiola Polytechnic. If you know some of the quality of their products, some of the people went to university can't match them. This is a fact. We've seen them here. We've seen them where I used to work. So, talking about our own profession, I can tell you that I've seen maybe, I don't even know how to explain it. It has to do, for some people, that was the opportunity that they had to get into a polytechnic.
I understand.
You know?
So, but what will it take?
Well.
Apologies there, but what will it take, to ensure that these two sets of degree holders, if I were to say, can be unified into one? Because you just mentioned
that is the dichotomy that they are taking away. If you are an HND holder, you are a graduate. No employer or labor should see the person, the HND should be treated as a degree.
Right.
You understand? So you are a degree holder. The person who has a BSc or a BA should not be seen as superior to you or holding some certificate that is superior to yours. No. It's just like some people making us feel that Abuja is more important than every state.
The rest of us.
I mean, extremely ridiculous argument. 25% of what's in 25% in Abuja? Absolute rubbish. Who are the people living in Abuja? Are they superior to those living? Do they have two heads or two genitals? I mean, these are the things that we should be talking about. No discrimination. Mr. President needs to go ahead and give his assent. This is one of the oldest
dichotomies.
Yes, that in our country. They've been talking about it for years.
1977.
Take this dichotomy away. Let all of them be
unified.
Yes, let them test. You can assess people. Somebody wants a job. Put the person to test. Let them write a test. You will see that some of those HND holders will trump the people who came with degrees. I didn't go to a polytechnic, but I do not see the people who went to polytechnic as inferior to those who went to the university, and it should stay like that. Should stay like that.
Now, GKB,
why are people discouraged from going to polytechnic? It's because they think that, when I come out now, they will treat me as an inferior being. No, We have to put an end to that.
Indeed. So, but GKB, we're just about a few days before the inauguration. How likely do you think the president would assent to this request?
He will. And if he doesn't, the next president will. This is an idea whose time has come. Because if you look at the history of the dichotomy, it's so funny. When people say that hell is paved with good intentions, this is one of those examples. Because the original purpose for diplomas was to produce people who use their hands, basically. They're supposed not to go to the office. But when the thing now came to implementation, those who are implementing it were graduates. So they now use the opportunity to put down HND. Of course, I went to a polytechnic before I went to university. Yinka Bola is my roommate. He made a past deputy governor of Osun State, where Galabi was also my roommate in Ibadan Poly. And you know what they've become. And of course, I went to university. They are some of the best brains in journalism right now. But what I'm trying to make is that when the intention was made, it was basically that these are people that will go and use their hands. In fact, when Dangote became governor, there was a law that says that you must do something tech. And they bought everything. So it's when you do well in night tech, I don't know what they call it, that you now move on to the polytechnic. Then you can now learn things with your hand. But you know the Nigerian system. The 1 year between the OND and HND was wasted. Basically for people to walk around. I don't know much about other countries, but I do know in some countries, for example, in Indiana, to call a mechanic, just to call him, is $200. I know in London, in some areas, for a mechanic or for a plumber to come to your house is £50.
So are you referring to technical colleges in this
I'm talking about those who went to technical colleges, which were polytechnic was supposed to be the bastion of. They're supposed to come from technical colleges and move to the polytechnic and become technicians. Like I said, a plumber will come to your house in London, you must pay I don't know about now. Then, for £50. To call a mechanic to your house in Indiana is $200. He will not leave his workshop without that money being paid. And that's because he wanted to create a generation of people who can work with their hands. But that has been diluted. Now everybody wants to carry the biro, everybody wants to write. Nobody wants to do the stuff anymore. So it's time to simply throw it away and let everybody behave the same way. Because all we are training basically are people who delve in theories anyway. The practical aspect has been jettisoned a long time ago. That's why some of our best brains will go outside and they will perform wonderfully well on things that we will throw away.
Look at Segun Odegbami.
Yeah.
Segun Odegbami went to a polytechnic.
I know.
I've seen writers in this country. Segun Odegbami is one of the greatest writers of the English language that I've seen in our country. You need to read what he writes. Editors of many years standing cannot write like Segun Odegbami. And I'm saying this as somebody who was editor cumulatively for more than 15 years. I know what I'm talking about. You read Segun Odegbami's copy, and it's a product of a polytechnic and a footballer for that matter.
So in essence, the polytechnic and university degree holders, they should be seen as one.
Yeah, in terms of status,
And remunerations.
They should not discriminate against them at all. It makes no sense.
Indeed. Well, let's leave that discussion. Let's quickly go on a very quick break. You're still on to Journalists Hangout. More coming up after this. Well, a sort of revolution has burst in the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. The Dangote Refinery has begun operations. The 650,000 barrels per day facility has been designed to process crude oil grades from the 3 continents of Africa, Asia, and America. The refinery will deliver a surplus of about 38 million liters of petrol, diesel, kerosene, and aviation fuel for Nigerians daily. Hence, it will meet 100% fuel supply requirement of the country. In addition, the Dangote Refinery is also capable of establishing 26,716 filling stations creating 100,000 direct and indirect jobs, as well as a $21 billion market for crude oil in the country. BKO, I'm sure you will, glad that this is happening, but let me quickly ask you this directly. How would the Dangote Refinery transform Nigeria's oil and gas sector?
The question is, how will it help us improve access to
availability of crude oil or petrol?
Yes, because that is the big problem that we are. Why is it that today aviation fuel is so, airlines, their tickets are so costly? Because access to Jet A1
Discussed.
Yes. So there was a time that they were finding it difficult. But Dangote, the refinery, will be able to process aviation fuel, premium motor spirit, which is petrol, diesel, kerosene. Kerosene too is extremely expensive in our country now. I'm not saying that Dangote Refinery will crash prices. Let Nigerians know that it will not crash prices. But the cost of those products will go down because we had been extremely dependent on importing petrol and those other deregulated products. Yes, we had been dependent on importation. This is the refinery that will take away that dependence. When that dependence is taken away, the cost of freighting, the cost of the landing cost will definitely reduce.
Right.
The international price is still what would it will still be sold at the international price. So if crude oil prices go up in the international market, it's not as if
it will affect
here in
us
Nigeria
here.
it will not affect us.
Oh, really?
Yes. The price is uniform globally.
So what if...
But because it's not all of those associated costs that have to do with importing the product, clearing and all that will be taken away,
right,
which will ensure that
the price of petrol is a little bit reduced,
goes down, even if it is marginal.
Right.
It will go down. The cost of, so what we even sometimes do is make crude available to the refiners. They will refine the crude, will now send it here, and then the landing cost is added to the entire cost. Once you take that landing cost away, because it's produced here, it will definitely help us to reduce, it will help the price to come down. And if we can fix those 3 refineries of ours, they still have someone told me that they still have a combined capacity of about 400,000, per day. Maybe that's true. Maybe they lied to me. I wouldn't know. I don't work in the sector. But once we can also fix those refineries, because what will show us to be unserious as a people is to totally depend on Dangote. They were talking about 16,500 filling stations. That should tell you that Dangote plans to go into retail business. He's trying to leverage on this refining capacity to now set up filling stations where
you can sell the product as well.
He was talking about 16,000 trucks. Already he has brought in trucks. So he's going to the way you have NNPC filling stations, you are going to begin to see Dangote filling stations where he will move his refined product for Nigerians to buy. The advantage that we will have is this availability, problem of availability of the product will go. So we will have sufficient supply, because a man who will be able to give us cumulatively 38 million liters, per day. That is including
diesel, kerosene, and aviation fuel.
That is substantial. That's substantial. I think that we won't have the problem that we used to have. Where for days we are waiting. NNPC will tell you that there are some cargoes on the high seas. They are coming, this and that.
Yeah.
You have Dangote here. You can refine 650,000. That's in excess of what we even need on a given day. That's a lot. And that's why they describe it as the single train, the largest single train refinery in the world. Yeah. Some people have said it's the largest refinery in the world. I saw an advert copy on TV. It's not the largest refinery in the world. In fact, I think it's the 7th largest. Because I was counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's the 7th largest refinery in the world, but it's the largest single train refinery. And what it means by single train refinery is a refinery that uses an integrated distillation unit or one crude distillation unit to refine crude oil into various petroleum products, as against those with multiple distillation units. So it has one unit
that will remove the kerosene, remove the
do the distillation. Whereas all those big refineries will have multiple. So it doesn't mean it's the biggest refinery in the world. It's not the biggest refinery.
So it's just a single train that makes it the largest.
It's the largest single train.
Right.
People need to know this, because I've had people say, Dangote Refinery, largest in the world. Absolute lie. The largest refinery in the world is in India.
Right.
Yes, it's called the Janaga Refinery. It refines 1,240, 1,240,000 barrels per day. 1 million. And Dangote does 650,000.
500,000.
So it can do
a lot more than expected.
2 times. It does like two times what Dangote Refinery can do. So that's the largest refinery in the world. So it's important. I was saying, even I was in Abuja one day. Somebody came on this program and described Dangote Refinery as the largest in the world, and I'm like, come on, this is not true now. The viewer must not be misled. Indeed.
So GKB, from what BKO's pointedly stated out, this is more like Nigeria is moving towards self-sufficiency in terms of import of oil and gas and all of that. But how confident, even though he is promising to deliver much more than we can expect, how confident are you that perhaps along the line, the supply demand, it might show itself, and we'll definitely go back to the way we were before, looking out for petrol, we don't see them again, we have long queues and all of that. How confident are you about this project?
I think that Dangote has solved that problem for himself with the retail business that is going to. But this guarantees that there will be availability of fuel across his own stations, across the country. And the advantage, of course, is the fact that our turnover time for what we call the National Reserve will now be bigger. Expect that somewhere along the line, NPC will now be building bigger storages outside the one they have at Satellite Town, the one they have in Kaduna, and the one they have in Ibadan. So our storage farms or storage facilities, because it's now localized, can now be built at a bigger capacity. So that means if there is any slump in international price, we have enough backup. Normally, NNPC will claim 3 months. But with us doing it at home, this will guarantee us at least between 6 months and 1 year. That means even when the refinery is having issues, we will have enough backup to fall back on for at least 6 to 9 months, if not a year. That to me is the game changer.
But when they are even, the refinery needs to even close.
Or repairs.
Or refurbishing and all that.
Turnover maintenance. So that to me is key. The key is the fact that there will be seamless transition between what we have and what we are going to need. Because people panic easily. A simple rumor that there's a pothole in front of the refinery, people start rushing to stock up. That's who we are. You can't help it. We worry about everything. So I think once Dangote start the retail business, that means the outlets are already given. So there's no need for middlemen that normally causes the problem
that we usually face whenever there's
because it will be from the
shortage of
producer.
Then we make more money.
Because it makes money
That's
across the
target.
board.
You know, talking of making more money, we have these refineries, like we had about 3 refineries that are yet to be fully functional. But, you know, does this mean that since we have these Dangote refineries, the other refineries should be, you know, left to not perform optimally? Because we need to have all the refineries, if at all we're to say, okay, we have a Dangote refinery. What about the other refineries as well?
Nothing even stops us from building
More.
refineries.
More.
Nothing stops us.
More.
Because pinning your hopes on one individual does not make any
It's a
sense.
national risk.
It's a big, big risk, especially an individual who is
Out for profit.
yes, and it doesn't joke about that. You know, so we need to fix our refinery. There should be no excuse whether Dangote builds 2 types of this one or not. Nigeria as a nation needs
Its own refinery.
refineries. There are states in the U.S. where they have more than 20 refineries. Just one state.
No cities.
One state. Texas, you know. Texas, for example. So why would we somehow 16 refineries?
16.
Yes, one state in the U.S.
And then imagine what it would do
So
for
America as a country has more than 100 refineries. So what is the problem with us that we have refineries, just 3 refineries? The Kaduna refinery, huh?
4.
That is okay. 4. Port
Harcourt.
Harcourt is 2. Port Harcourt is 2.
Worry.
Then we have Warri, we have Kaduna.
4.
So 4. Port Harcourt 1, Port Harcourt 2. Yes. So I was counting Port Harcourt as 1. But they've been largely idle. Warri Refinery is said to be one of our most modern refineries. And people expected so much from Warri Refinery. But what do we have? Just there. Just there. You know, so, and we spend so much money trying to get these refineries working.
So is it based on political
Fat
will?
cats
We don't have
continue to
political
steal
will to
money
ensure
meant
this
for
is done.
turnaround maintenance. Fat cats continue to steal them, steal the money, make sure the refineries are not working. They will bring more money for turnaround maintenance. We'll steal again. The kind of people in the oil
It's a vicious circle. Yeah.
it's like we've been cursed with some of the people in the oil sector. They are the ones stealing us blind in the name of level of consumption of PMS on every day. They know that they are lying, that we don't consume that much, but they need to lie so that they can make
More money.
from what is it called?
TMs.
From
Importation.
from
The subsidy?
subsidy. Because we say you are doing 68 million or 70 million, the subsidy bill will be higher. The higher the level of consumption that is not scientifically determined, the higher you pay a subsidy bill. And it's from this that they make their money. That's why some of us think the subsidy thing should go. Because it has enabled us to create some fat cats, billionaires, out of the sweat of patriotic Nigerians.
GKB, what's the way out of this if we're to look at, having our own refinery working for the sake of everyone and then not for the sake of a few?
Well, the subsidy must go. That's the first thing. Once there are no profits to be made from our suffering, the true figures will come out. I will know. Because once you know that whatever you bring is what you sell, unless that is done, the fat cats will continue to fleece us. There's nothing we can do. So the first point, of course, like I said, is to ensure that we get the correct figure. For example, you and I know that 60-65% of the entire consumption in Nigeria is with Lagos and Ibadan access. And then the Abuja-Kaduna access. If you can isolate those, basically, and say, okay, Dangote, you have the primary market here. I'm sure once there's no subsidy, we'll get the figures in those areas to less than 30 million a day. because we know the number of registered vehicles. We know the number of things that they can consume. Because that's why when people complain about the Nigeria getting loans or getting debt relief, the Igbo people will laugh at us because they know how much is coming out and they know how much we are declaring. That's why we are always the joke when we have to go out and search for money. And once that is done, in another 2, 3, 4 years, this will stabilize. And once you have enough fuel, even our electricity will stabilize.
Indeed.
Because you have enough to now power.
So to be a trickle-down effect.
Seriously. Because once the tailors are working, once the iron benders are working, people will find something productive to do.
Indeed, so even the
that will
economy
stop people from going straight to Okada. Because you've broken the chain of production. And that to me is key. So it's not only Dangote. We need nothing less than 5 of this. Because Nigeria's population is growing at a rate that we cannot really make up.
True.
Lagos alone was 20 million 5 years ago. Only God knows how many people are in Lagos today.
Right, let's quickly move on. The state of Texas in the U.S. has 32 refineries. You know, if one state can have 32 refineries, why should Nigeria have 4 refineries? 4 refineries that are not working. It makes no sense.
Right,
so we need to
address this issue.
Yes.
Indeed. Let's quickly move on to our next issue of discussion, where the trouble in the health sector in Nigeria is far from over, but there is a kind of relief regarding doctor strike. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors has signed a memorandum of understanding with the federal government towards ending their strike, and this came after the doctors met with the Senate Committee on Health, the House of Reps Committee on Health, and the Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, to deliberate on their demands. Meanwhile, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Professor Issa Pantami, says Nigeria requires additional 363,000 medical doctors to meet the target of the World Health Organization. And the minister explained that the situation is worsening, with the doctor attending to more than 5,000 patients. BKO strike is quite frightening, you know, getting to hear that we have about, just from his analysis, 1 doctor to 5,000, but the brain drain is still on. But first off, how would you describe first this current situation between the federal government, the Nigerian Medical Association, and the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors? How would you describe this triangle?
You know, they've been on this matter for some time. As I said yesterday, these demands are more than 2 years old. It was actually in 2020 that they made up their minds that they were going to go on strike. They went on strike, I think, in December of that year. And government continued to dilly-dally on their demands. You know how long it took government to address the issue of hazard allowance? They were paying the same hazard allowance that was instituted in the 80s. You know, whatever you are paying to someone as an allowance that was instituted in the 1980s, inflation must have eroded it completely.
Right.
And now if we are saying we want doctors to stay here and work, if we are saying we are worried about the rate at which doctors are leaving our country, then we have to improve their welfare. There are states that have set up state universities and are owing doctors. If you do not have sufficient funds, why should you set up state university in the first place? I think there ought to even be a kind of moratorium on that, because people are just setting up universities for fun, believing that that is one of the dividends of democracy. How do we ensure that these universities are properly maintained, to give them good access roads, provide money for them to get instructional materials and all that? We don't care about it. We just go and set them up, you know. So they complained that even the matter of hazard allowance that they are being paid, that states should domesticate some of those agreements. For example, residency training. They agreed to residency training after a long fight but some states have not domesticated it. So they also complain that their colleagues in the states were being owed, in some cases, up to 5 months' salary. How do you owe a doctor 5 months' salary? Somebody that is people's lives are in his hands. You don't care about his welfare. He's going to inadvertently kill people. We've seen doctors who forgot suction materials inside the women's belly. And you are creating a situation in which their heads are turned, they are not happy.
Yeah.
More of such things will happen. So, in my view, just as we said the other day, someone said, why? I think yesterday, that why should they go on strike this late? I said, no. They had been talking, even in January, they said they were going on strike. Eventually, they didn't go. So, despite the fact that this government is on its way out, government is a continuum. Go ahead, get into that agreement with them, and I'm happy that that is what we are told has been done now. They are going to give them a pay rise using ASU's template. You know, you use the same template for ASU so that they can have, they can earn more money, their welfare can be better taken care of. Probably because of that, some people will remain here and work. But
hopefully.
Yes, but the environment, the
It's
fact
stifling.
that the equipment to work with are likely not there. Why are people targeting tertiary medical centers? Tertiary medical centers are supposed to be centers of excellence and all that.
Training schools.
Yes, but what do you have? Because
The primary health
people
centers
don't
are
want
not
to work in the rural
primary health
areas.
centers,
There has to be incentive to even get what Pantami is saying. People will now, doctors don't want to work in those rural areas. Everybody wants to come to the urban center because even the tools to work with are not there. So how do we deal with this situation? We need more medical colleges. If you know the number of medical colleges that India has, that's why India is the world's #1 exporter of doctors. They have so many medical colleges. We do not have enough. We need to have more medical colleges. That's the only way we can bridge this gap. 5,000
patients to a doctor.
Patients to a doctor.
It can be alarming.
It's alarming. It's terrible. That's why health is collapsing in our country.
This is even conservative. Yeah.
It's conservative, you say? Yeah. Really? So you think it's more than that?
It could be worse.
Yeah, because I know that University of Ibadan is easily the best teaching hospital in this part of the world. And they are some of the best brains. But they too are going through this. And these are people that normally will not leave Ibadan for anything. Talking about those who are beyond doctors, what they call them misters. They have a name. After a doctor, you become something, leader or so. They have a name, sir, between being ordinary doctors and being consultants. And these are people who don't need to go anywhere. Some of the best in the world. Same thing with OAU, something with some of the best hospitals in the Southwest. And it's no longer a trickle. It's not a flood. Because somebody you saw at a wedding 2 weeks ago, as for him today, he or she is no longer.
You know what they said in the past, that it was the consultants, the senior people that used to travel. These days, as they are coming out of medical college, what is on their minds is to travel. It was not like that before. There was a guy that I met in Benue. So he was watching this program. He now sent me a message. He said, Jide, I'm shedding tears as I write this.
I know.
I'm about to leave. He was watching. I'm about to leave too. And my plan was to work for 10 years. But now I can't take it anymore.
You can't.
Well, you know, there was a law about this where it's proposed that there's a bill rather proposing bonding for doctors, you know, to work for 5 years before they finally leave. What do you think?
Federal government has rejected.
No, they reject.
Because it's against the labor laws.
No, you can't force anybody. The one we had in the 60s was essentially
economic migration. You can't stop
you
economic
can't.
migration.
Skilled laborers. No, you cannot.
All over the world, they are in demand. Even Egypt that came up with the law, because we like copying people.
Yeah.
Egypt started that law saying that once you come out of medical college, you must work in a public
hospital,
health facility for 3 years before you can even move to a private hospital. In spite of that problem, 11,600 Egyptian doctors left the country in 3 years. And Egypt is one of the places that Nigerians go to for Medicare.
And that also,
not staying.
Yeah, this also raised the question of medical tourism. Do you think perhaps this also fuels the brain drain that we're witnessing in that country, and perhaps this needs to be stopped? Perhaps checks from those from the top before it gets down to the bottom. What do you think?
Well, we have no health facilities in the first
People
place.
will not stay here.
So nobody's going to stay behind. No, patriotism is dead. You have to understand that.
You have the money, you go abroad.
Because if you know what you want and you don't want to die, you will go. And I'm not talking about those who are very rich or has money. Anybody with any little ailments will go. Remember the joke about the man who they saw cockroach in his chest? You remember it? And they went to India. Realized the cockroach was not in his chest. It was inside the X-ray machine. That's how bad to describe Nigerian medical facilities as we have it. There's an hospital at Ojokoro that used to serve basically as the referral center. Last year, they brought in 20 young doctors. As I speak to you now, there are only 2 of them left. They brought young doctors because the Pakistanis were no longer coming as they were. Nigeria was their choice 20, 30 years ago. Now they prefer to go to London because things are better there. Before, once they are leaving Pakistan, Nigeria is their first place to come. But now most of them prefer to go to Canada or go to England. Our own boys that were brought in last year, January, 20 of them, only 2 are left as of yesterday. And this is not even a government. These are an hospital that was paying them well.
Even private hospital.
By Nigeria standard. Private to missionary hospital.
They will live.
Paying them well, giving them houses, making sure that the money they were paid moves with the times.
Right.
Nothing will stop them.
Babajide,
Yesterday, 2 people left out of 20.
final thoughts. What are your recommendations if we're to address this issue?
I think the issue of, one, we have to produce more doctors.
Right.
2, we have to do our best to keep our doctors. Otherwise, we are approaching an emergency situation because not doctors alone that are leaving. Pharmacists are leaving. Laboratory technicians are leaving.
Nurses.
Dentists and nurses are leaving. They are all leaving.
Nurses, especially.
So that sector is in crisis. Unless we do our best to improve the lot of the professionals, the health professionals, and even provide equipment, the tools for them to work with. Because some of them will say, look, when I go abroad, I'll be able to work with the best equipment and I will have access to training. Some of the training that they need are not here. So those conditions that are making the doctors to not want to stay,
right,
we need to do something about it. Going to disrupt their examination as we did, they were writing an exam to go to UK or
that will not solve the problem.
Going to disrupt their examination makes no sense. There was a girl who met the person who trained her as a doctor, her own consultant, chief consultant.
Right.
More than 20 years ago, the person who trained her,
wow,
they were writing the same exam, wanted to go abroad.
Well, let's leave it at that for now. Because of time, we cannot continue this conversation. I'd like to thank you, my guests, as usual. Babajide Kolade Otitoju, thank you so much for your insights. And Gani Kayode Balogun, thank you as well for your insights. Well, that's it on Journalist Hangout. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of the show. You can also watch a repeat broadcast tonight at 11. And join us again on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Many thanks for watching. I am Esther Makwariola. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.